he just went low. He's in his head. He's in his head. He's open, his head wide open, cracked open at the base.
Welcome everyone, it's Mario Mantis 100. Welcome back to the Mario Kart Marathon. Let's continue on by reviewing the next game in the series. Let's take a look at the next console game and motion controls at the wazoo with Mario Kart Wii for the Nintendo Wii. In 2006 and 2007, the Nintendo Wii was dominating the video game landscape and still is as one of the highest selling consoles of all time. So after a few years of being on the market, Mario Kart Wii was developed and released in every region in April 2008. I mean, Nintendo was continuing the trend by releasing a new Mario Kart game on new Nintendo hardware, so the Wii was no different. Also, considering the player base the Wii had, even at this point, not releasing a new Mario Kart entry would have been a crazy idea. What a time to release too, considering that one of Mario's best 3D outings in Super Mario Galaxy was released late 2007, and the high anticipation of the long-awaited Super Smash Bros. Brawl releasing right around the release of this game, or after Brawl released. It was almost like Nintendo was hitting us with a 1-2 combo of multiplayer goodness with both of these games. Quite a few changes went ahead for this game, with a bunch of additions as well. The game was the first in the series to feature BMX motorbikes as vehicle options, which was an idea which Hideki Kono had proposed since the development of Double Dash out of his passion for extreme sports, but was rejected due to the seemingly bizarre image of Mario riding a bike, which is weird considering now it feels so natural due to Mario Kart, but also the Mario and Sonic Olympic crossovers too. The concept of extreme sports elements was considered in Mario Kart DS, but due to the difficulty in including the concept in a handheld game, it wasn't able to be implemented until Wii. Because of the feature's inclusion, the game was codenamed Mario Kart X before its final name was decided upon, with the X referring to extreme sports. I love the addition of bikes into the game. More vehicle options are always good. The bikes mostly handle very differently to the karts in the game, which is another good reason for the addition. Mario Kart Wii was officially announced at E3 2007, where the online features and the first footage of the game was shown at the show. During Nintendo America CEO Reggie Fils-Aimé's presentation, he unveiled the game with a trailer that showed some of the new characters and tracks. The trailer also displayed that the game would include up to 12 simultaneous races, compared to 8 in the previous games. Additional details of the game were later released in conjunction with the Nintendo Fall 2007 conference held in October of that year, where it was revealed that it would include bikes and the introduction of the Wii Wheel bundle with the game. New gameplay footage from the game was also shown, and the release date was revealed to be set for spring 2008, before coming out in April. Having bikes as vehicle options wasn't the only change to the game. The way the game was played ultimately changed too, due to one thing that Nintendo Wii was based around: the motion control. The Wii's motion control took the entire world by storm, considering the console appealed to everyone, not just gamers, so naturally forms of motion control would be implemented into the game. The console exploded in popularity with the simple concept of motion controls in games like Wii Sports, in that the simple Wii remote can be moved like a baseball bat or a tennis racket. So with the concept of the Wii Wheel peripheral being introduced, many casual game players use the Wii remote as a steering wheel. Yeah, looking at it, it's basically a piece of plastic, but for someone like a young kid, it's magic to them, and at the time, it was absolutely crazy. The crazy thing about this game is that there are quite a few different controller types. This game is probably the best in that aspect, since heaps of people can play this game the way they want to. Whether it's just the Wii Remote alone, the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combination, the Wii Classic Controller, and even the GameCube controller was able to be used. The controller from the last console is able to be used in this game. That's awesome, as is giving people options on how they want to play. More options for a comfortable time with a game is always welcomed by me. The third noticeable change is the addition of tricks and stunt moves. By launching off of bumps in the road, ramps, or an incline on any of the racetracks, you can either press a specific button, or in the case of the Wii Remote, shake the controller to make your chosen character do a trick or stunt move in the air. The move can be randomized, but I think holding a direction in the air can sometimes influence what move they can do. These tricks and stunts also give you a boost when landing on the ground, so doing as many tricks as possible in a race can be very important to stay at the front of the pack. Speaking of boost, this was the game that changed the way Drift Mini Boost was handled. No longer can you wiggle the left analog stick back and forth or press back and forth on the D-pad because now it's time-based. The reason for this change was due to people complaining about the drifting technique named snaking from DS. For those not in the know, snaking was a technique used to weave back and forth all over racetracks with the game's drifting mechanics, in that after getting mini boost from a drift, you could shift the other direction to drift the other way, and get more boost, resulting in veteran players having an advantage over novice ones. I kinda understand where the developers are coming from in changing the drift mechanics to level the playing field, so to speak, but snaking and drifting in general in DS wasn't that hard to work out, so I don't agree with the change. The drifting mechanics are like this in the series from now on, and it's something you get used to, but only after playing each of the games for a little while, and multiple iterations making these mechanics better. The karts have 2 levels of mini turbo in the game, compared to bikes. I guess to try and balance the fact that you can pop wheelies with all the bikes, which can increase the bike's speed for the time of the wheelie. This mechanic plus the way some bikes handle in the game actually make them overpowered. So a bunch of people will resort to only using bikes considering it's the game's meta, despite a bunch of the karts looking and controlling great. Bikes will get balanced after this game, so no more wheelies can be pulled off, and the balance gets shifted back to a level playing field, so yeah, not too bad. Let's dive into the character roster, since almost every character in DS makes a return. The only character that is left behind is Rob. The robotic operating buddy doesn't make it back, and by technicality, Shy Guy doesn't return either. But I say technicality due to Shy Guy only being used in DS download play. Other than that, everyone from DS's roster returns. There are quite a few returns, but also a few additions to the roster in this game, so let's dive into who's here, since this is one of the biggest character rosters in the series. The only roster that comes close to this is the current Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, for returns other than the DS roster, we have Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Birdo, Bowser Jr., Diddy Kong, King Boo, Koopa Troopa, and Toadette. We get some new additions as well in the form of Baby Peach, Baby Daisy, Dry Bowser, Funky Kong, Rosalina, and 2 different outfit options for the Miis. Yeah, even the avatars of the Wii are playable characters in this game, which is actually one of their first notable crossover appearances since their inception. A bunch of characters are unlockable in the game, but we have a starting roster of 12 characters. Keep in mind that DS had 12 characters in total. So yeah, the roster gets pretty big after unlocking everything. We next will move on to karts, because we have some lovely choices and designs for karts, as well as the newest edition of bikes of all kinds too. Unfortunately, this is the last Mario Kart game to feature full built kart options, because from the next game on, it's all designing karts with a bunch of car part options, very much like the premise of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I bet you didn't expect that game as a comparison, and especially in a good light. We've got some cool and unique kart designs, from ideas of common Mario enemies, like a Cheep Cheep and Blooper, to a cool sedan with flapping wings on the back, to an off-roader, to even Wario's motorbike from the Brawl announcement trailer and the previous WarioWare and Wario Land games. We even get a kart based on the Blue Falcon from F-Zero, which, for those who didn't know, is Captain Falcon's vehicle in the franchise. Pretty cool cameo if you ask me. All these examples and more make for a great list of options of vehicles with stats all over the place that once again change the series, even if this certain change was used for the last time. As for the items to use in the game, we have quite a list of them, including a whole bunch returning from Mario Kart DS. We have the usual list of items that are veterans of the items roster basically, starting with banana peels, red and green shells, single and triple mushrooms, the lightning bolt, spiny shell, and Starman. We also have the return once again of the golden mushroom, triple red, and triple green shells, and the bob-omb from Double Dash, with the blooper, triple banana peels, and the Bullet Bill returning from DS. This is also the last game to feature the fake item box, which I think is a cool item, so it's sad to see it go. We also get some new items added to the roster too. First is the Mega Mushroom, which makes you grow much bigger, allowing you to squash races on the track. Unfortunately, you can still get hit by the Bullet Bill and Starman, but the Lightning Bolt will return you to normal size rather than mini. We also get two crappy items as well, with the Power Block and Thundercloud. The Power Block causes an earthquake that makes everyone spin out on the track, unless you're in the air. The Thundercloud is like a hot potato, passing it around by touching other racers on the track. The cloud increases all your kart's stats, but will spark. Once it gets too much charge, it'll shrink you like the Lightning Bolt. This is a dumb item, and probably the worst in the series honestly. At least with the Power Block it has some utility, but the Thundercloud is just an awful idea with terrible execution. To move to the racetracks and cups themselves, I gotta say, the retro track selection isn't as strong as DS's selection. But there are some cool choices here like N64 Mario Raceway, GBA Shy Guy Beach, and my personal favourite, GCN Waluigi Stadium. I will say the DS retro tracks that return in this game, they definitely aren't the strongest choices. Like Peach Gardens is maybe the only one that's a good choice here, that much that it will return soon in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course pack, but can't win them all I guess. The new track selection is very strong in this game. I really enjoy a bunch of the tracks here, from Grumble Volcano to Coconut Mall, this game's Bowser's Castle, to my personal favourite, Toad's Factory. There's not that many misses in the new tracks, in fact this is almost perfect. Maybe Luigi's Circuit being a bit basic, but I'd give that a pass since it's the first track in the Mushroom Cup, but the only other track that might have issues is this version of Rainbow Road. The design's a little all over the place, but I think it's memorable. Considering the fact that for quite some time I kept a counter on how many times I completed a race on there without falling off the track once, it's pretty memorable, and most of the tracks that are new are like that too. Overall, the graphics and presentation for the game are pretty good. Not the best looking Wii game for sure, like I'd say both Mario Galaxy games look better than this, and even Brawl does too, but it's definitely passable. Still looks better in motion like Double Dash, even with some more jaggy character models, but the track designs, lighting, and atmosphere is all pretty great. The sunset look in Wario's Gold Mine, the autumn or fall field of Maple Treeway, the terror of Ashfield Skies in Grumble Volcano, to the mystic of Rainbow Road. The retro tracks have all been updated really well too, like they all look better than ever before. As for the music and soundtrack, it's fantastic. From the Arabian sounding melody of Dry Dry Ruins, to the craziness of Moonview Highway, to the upbeat roller coaster of Cooper Cape, and a bunch of the remixes for the retro tracks are also fantastic too. N64 Bowser's Castle, GCN Mario Circuit, SNES Ghost Valley 2, and especially, yes, GCN Waluigi Stadium. One recurring detail I will say is that for this and future games in the series, some of the tracks have different names in certain regions. This game has the track DK Summit, but I know it as DK's Snowball Cross. I don't know why this was changed, but I thought I'd mention that. To talk about modes, Mario Kart Wii features multiple single player and multiplayer modes. Single player returns with the usual Grand Prix, time trials, but also the return of versus and battle modes which debuted in DS. As for multiplayer, we have versus and battle supporting up to 4 players, and also with or without CPU races. Grand Prix is the usual venture with 50, 100, and 150cc, with mirror mode unlockable once again, with both sets of cups in the new tracks as well as retro courses too. Versus mode is the same as well, but with plenty of customizable options like in DS, like whether you want to play with teams or individually, and options like frantic items, which can make the game even more crazy. Time trial is pretty standard again, but the triple mushrooms return after a 2-game absence. Battle mode is back like DS with multiple modes to choose from. Players are divided into 2 teams again, but unlike DS, teammates cannot harm each other with items, which becomes the standard in every game after this. The 2 modes to choose from are the traditional balloon battle, and a new addition to this game, coin runners. In balloon battle, the only change to the mode apart from items not hurting teammates is that it's not last man standing anymore. You try to gain points by using items against the other team in the time limit. Either team can lose a point each time a player on the team loses all their balloons. Coin runners takes the idea of shine runners from DS but changes it to coins, which makes a lot more sense considering how iconic to the series coins are. Anyway, the 2 teams collect coins scattered throughout the arena and attack opposing team members to make them drop coins that they might have collected. The team that has accumulated the most coins total when the 3-minute time limit expires wins. Both of these modes can be very fun. I've played more balloon battle over the years compared to coin runners, but both of these modes are very fun. We have 10 battle arenas to choose from, 5 new and also 5 retro courses from the past. Most of these are pretty fun, with Funky Stadium being my favourite, and SNES Battle Course 4 leading the retro pack. Mario Kart Wii also supported online play via the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection until it was discontinued on May 20th, 2014. My birthday, by the way. Both Versus and Battle were available to play, and both modes supported up to 12-player lobbies, with up to 2 players connecting and playing on the same Wii console. Players could compete against random players from within the same region or from any continent around the world, or compete only against players registered as friends. At the end of each race or match, each player's VR versus rating, or BR battle rating, would change based on their final ranking. Now, remember when I said in the Mario Kart DS review that game was technically not the only game with a version of mission mode in it? There's a reason for that, and it's because of this game, due to a little thing called the Mario Kart channel. The Nintendo Wii had all sorts of applications called channels, with some examples being the Me channel and the Wii Shop channel. The Mario Kart channel was one you could download off of the game that showed current regional or worldwide rankings for time trials, and the option of sending or receiving Ghost data via Wii Connect 24, before it was discontinued on the 28th of June 2013. It also offered worldwide tournaments from Nintendo, which would modify courses that sometimes had special objectives, like collecting coins or getting the best time. There used to be 2 tournaments hosted each month for people to take part of. So yeah, it technically felt like the mission mode from DS made a return with this channel. I played quite a few tournament missions, and they were pretty fun. Just wish future games had something similar. Lastly, let's talk about the controls. Like I said, 4 different controller types are able to be used, so let's talk about the control type I usually play with, and that's the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combination. The A button is to accelerate the kart, and confirm in menus. The B button is the brake, but it can also reverse and drift the kart too. It's also decline in menus. The analog stick is to steer the kart. The Z button is to equip or use items while holding forward or back on the analog stick to use them forward or backwards. The C button is to look behind you. Shaking the Wii Remote is to pull off tricks in the air, while flicking the remote up on the ground can start a wheelie on a bike, and down stops the wheelie. The plus button is to bring up the pause menu during gameplay. So yeah, not too much motion control in this game, which is good for a bunch of people. Not overly forcing them down your throat, as they'll say. This game, I will say, is something that isn't looked back at in a nice light due to multiple reasons, but both back in the day and even today, I still really enjoy it. The motion control isn't overloaded in it, but that's to the game's benefit. It actually makes the controls easier to understand, especially for casual players. I will say I have played this game a lot, though not as much as DS, but I still really enjoy playing it. I'd give this game an 8 out of 10 if I had to give it a score. This game added a whole bunch to the series, but also took some stuff away, including the cool mission mode from the last game. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. This has been Mario Man 100. You guys have a great day or night, and of course, take care. Next time in the Mario Kart Marathon, we move on to the last game in the marathon with Mario Kart 7 for the Nintendo 3DS.